All right, welcome to Lunch and Learn, Introduction to OERs. My name is Morgan. I will tell you that this presentation is very general. It's really just to get you introduced to the idea of OERs and to help you feel like you have a place to start and some resources that you can look at. The more specific things we'll get into a little later in a series that focuses on OERs for social sciences, for STEM, and for the humanities and the arts. So this is really just to sort of whet your appetite. And if you are interested in this, it's a place where you can come back to if you are interested in exploring. So I know you both, so you do not have to do this if you do not want to, but I would love to know the subject that you are teaching or at least what you're interested in, and then why you are interested in OERs.
Hello, it's BJ. I'm actually just interested to see what you're going to cover in this so that I can become more familiar myself, since we are moving further in the direction of OERs and OER resources.
Yes, that's so exciting. Thank you for being here. All right, so by the end of today's session, hopefully you'll be able to define the 5 R's of OERs, locate OER resources through the library or online, and then articulate the value of OERs for student and faculty. I've actually got it organized so that we actually move from the last bullet point to the first one to the second one. A little disorganized on the layout, but we will cover all of that in just a few minutes. So one thing that I would encourage you to think about is OERs as valuable resources, not just for students, but also for faculty. So I think a lot of times there is a sort of idea that only students benefit from OERs. And I think that that is a misconception about the way OERs can benefit faculty. So generally we know that OERs are beneficial to students because they don't cost them quite as much money. And so one of the things that cost of textbooks does is it actually decreases retention in student population. So I'm going to actually drop a couple of chat links into the chat for you that you can explore. And one of the big things that these links cover are the findings of the Chronicle of Higher Education back in 2011, I believe, and maybe 2014. Essentially, what they found was that if the student can't afford the textbook, they will either defer the course or just not purchase the textbook, which is a problem because first, if they choose to defer the course, it's hard to say if they will come back, especially if they need that class. And then the other part is they may show up to class without the textbook, and that can be challenging for learning. It can be challenging for the teacher, assigning readings and helping the student get through the assignments. They rely on the textbook, but they've chosen not to purchase it for financial reasons, then obviously that student is going to have a hard time participating in the class like everybody else. So the real heart of OER is to promote equity, but also at the end of the day, it does something else, which is promote student success. And that is what we want as a library. That's what we want for the students at CCCC to be successful and to feel empowered in their classes. And it doesn't have anything to do with access to a textbook or not. The other really great thing is diverse content. So there's obviously we're trying to talk about textbooks today, but I did want to emphasize that a lot of academic articles are now open access as well. And that is really beneficial for students and for faculty, because if you're wanting to assign an article and not a whole textbook, you just want to assign an academic article, there's so many options out there for that as well. So you get a lot of diverse content, you get it from a lot of different sources, so you don't necessarily have to rely on one book. And that gives your course flexibility. So what you teach and how you teach is not so much dependent on the textbook, but on what you want to cover, the content of the course, what you think is appropriate for your class. And I just say, as a former instructor, that I wish I had known more about OERs when I was teaching all the time, because I always felt sort of constrained by the textbook. I felt like I had to teach the textbook because the students bought it, and I didn't want them to feel like they had wasted their money. OERs really allow you to teach what you think is important and to share information that is valuable beyond what an author or an editor may choose for a particular textbook. Not that the textbook is bad, but it may limit what you feel like you can teach because you're trying to justify that cost to the student. Are there challenges and drawbacks to using OERs? Well, with anything, there could be challenges and drawbacks. Let's go ahead and acknowledge that that's just part of any new thing you try. You're taking a risk, so there's a challenge or a drawback, perhaps involved in if you run into a problem and you're not sure how to solve it, or maybe the link that you used originally is broken. And so, I mean, there's tech challenges and there's maybe integration challenges, but they're not things that we can't overcome. And at the end of the day, it's not about finding the perfect material. It's about finding the material that will work at the particular time that you need it. And I think long are gone are the days where we sort of say, well, the textbook is everything that you'll ever need to know. Don't question the textbook. If it's text in the textbook, it's legit. That's the only thing that matters. I think now we're a little bit more aware that textbooks do sometimes overlook information that's important. Whether that's intentional or not is really not the point. The point is that a lot of times textbooks can't cover everything. So OERs gives us the flexibility to cover more things without committing to one particular source. And it allows the student to be successful as well, because the material that you're wanting to share in the class is something that they can access easily. And I've just dropped a link into the chat about the myths that you often hear about OERs and how this particular library addresses those myths. Anybody have any questions? If at any point you do have questions, just drop them in the chat. That is perfectly fine, and I'll be happy to answer them as I can. So the 5 R's of OERs, this is something that will help you to identify if what you're looking at is an OER, or if you're creating something, if it's an OER. So OERs are open educational resources, and they allow you and your students to do 5 things with the materials. You can retain it, which means you can keep the work forever. You can reuse it. You can use the work for your own purposes. You can revise it, meaning that you can adapt, modify, translate it, remix it, is the next one. You can combine it with another resource to make a new work. So a chapter here, a chapter there, and then redistribute. You can share the work with others. If you're limited on any one of these 5 R's, you may not be looking at an OER. And that's just something to keep in mind, that the sources that we're going to look at today actually allow you to do all 5 of these R's with any of the resources. So if you're out on the open web, you're on Google and you're searching for things, just kind of keep in mind that these 5 R's can kind of help you think about, are you looking at something that's an OER? You need to investigate a little bit more, that kind of thing. So for accessing OERs, open access journals can be accessed through the library's summon search. obviously we purchase textbooks we don't purchase textbooks, I apologize. We do not purchase textbooks, but we do purchase ebooks that students can then read through the library's databases. But those are not OERs. We purchased those, we bought those, and there's still copyright on those particular resources. So what you'll probably see more likely or more often in our summons search is those open access journals. So I'm going to show you actually really quick what I mean and how you might see that. So when you go to the library's website, you can go to cccc.edu/library. And we can search for anything that we would like. I'm going to search for bird watching. Not everything will bring up OERs right away, but there is actually a little indicator on the side that you'll look for, and you can see it'll say open access right here. And you can see that I can then explore this article, and it's an open access journal. So if I just wanted to look up the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, I could. So you can see right here, there's that journal. It says right here, open access, free for readers, and then I can investigate and explore. So that can sometimes help if a student is interested in a journal as a whole or finding an academic journal online, just beyond the library's databases. That can be one way, is they can investigate what we have that's open access indicated here, and then explore a little bit more. You can see that not all of them do have that open access icon, so you can take that as not everything you see will be open access. And so students should be aware of that as well. They can search for things, but they need to look for that icon. Any questions on that? Make sense? Everything okay?
Yes, everything's great.
Okay, great. Awesome. So the other thing to think about is OERs can be accessed by searching repositories and libguides, which we will look at in just a minute. And then OERs can be accessed by searching Google and the open web. The main issue here is you have to really read carefully and look for a license before you plan to use it. So you might find something that's really great. Just be aware that, you know, if you don't see a license that clearly states this is open access or that it is something that you can reuse, then just want to be careful. If you find a random PDF online, again, be wary of that. That is not necessarily just a free-for-all to use that. All right, so we're going to focus mostly on the OERs by searching repositories and libguides. So I've selected some top OER resources that I think can be really helpful. I'm going to share these slides after the presentation is over. So you are welcome at any time to use any of these links, but these are the ones that I think are probably the most beneficial and useful at this particular point, because everything is there that you may be interested in looking at for your particular subject. So we have obviously the OER guide for CCCC. That is, we haven't really updated that one in quite a bit, so I'm hoping that we'll go back through and update that pretty soon. And then you have the University of Pittsburgh, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. NC Live has 2 of them, and then Open NCCC. This one is from the community colleges of North Carolina. And I'm going to actually explore this one real quick with you, just so you kind of see what it looks like. and then we will go from there. All right. All right. Let's go to open NCCC now. And so you can see here, you can type in what you're looking for. You can look for a particular subject, particular education level, and then course alignment. You can also browse, and then you can browse the colleges as well. So let's browse all the resources, and we can focus on a particular subject area if we would like, or we can focus on a particular material type, depending on what it is that we would like to look at. So social and behavioral science. So again, you could search by keyword. That is always an option. You could also list a course there. You could look at a subject area. You could also focus a little bit. So like criminal justice, administration of. Now I'm looking at 51 results. Again, this is very similar to searching library resources. You can get a lot of results and then choose to narrow down a little bit later if you would like. You can, of course, change the education level, content source, language, all of that. But you can also see here the title and the subject that it falls under, the type of material that it is. Again, this is a textbook. The author, the date it was added. So that can be helpful if you're looking for a particular resource within a certain number of years. And then it'll also tell you the license. You can see right here under all of these, there is a license, and you can just hover over it. So it'll let you know what you can do with it and how it is limited or not. And then once you click on it, it'll tell you all the tags. If you see a tag of interest, fantastic. If not, you can just view the resources, and then it's going to open it up there. And there I've got all my chapters, and I can look at it online, PDF, ebook. And then again, you've got your license there. And if you're not sure, if you're thinking maybe I'm not sure if I want to use this book, some of them do have reviews. Oh, and this one looks to be very popular, so that's very exciting. But the main thing I really want to emphasize is that there is a lot of information out there. So if at some point you need help from a librarian, we want to help you. You can reach out to us at any time and say, look, I need help finding materials on this topic or this particular subject field, and we would love to help you. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident, not only finding the resources, but if you feel like you want to integrate the resources into your classroom, you absolutely can do that. We can help you with accessibility and investigate if there are better options for accessibility. Maybe one source is not as accessible as another. So we can definitely help you. Just a real, basically it's a conversation. We want you to be successful, and we want your students to be successful. So this is how you can search if you would like to do so on your own. But if you would like a little bit of help, you're always welcome to let us know. Now, I will say one thing about the University of Pittsburgh and the University of North Carolina Greensboro guides is that there is a lot of information. It can feel very overwhelming. So again, when you approach these resources, don't give up. Your subject is likely there. Something you may want to use is likely there. It's just there's going to be a lot to look at. So stay persistent and just be aware that there's going to be a kind of an overwhelming amount of content. That's not a bad thing, but it can feel a little frustrating at first. All right, so we have some upcoming OER events that focus on particular disciplines. So OERs for STEM, OERs for humanities and the arts, OERs for social sciences. And I'm going to put those links in the chat for you so that you can sign up for whichever one is of interest to you. There's OER for STEM. There's OER for arts and humanities. And then OERs for social sciences. You can attend any or all of them. It does not matter which one, as long as you feel like it is beneficial for you. If you're interested in nursing and health sciences or career and technical education, the goal is to think about those in the spring. We'll have similar like OER conversations about those topics, but we've got these 3 areas for the fall. Are there any questions? Anything you want to see? Anything you have concerns about? Anything you want to share?
Nope, that was great, Morgan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So if at any point you are interested in utilizing the resources through the library, whether that's open access or something else, you can always reach out to us. We can help you with a variety of different tasks. It could be related to your campus. If you feel more comfortable with your campus librarian, fantastic. If you feel like maybe you have questions about perhaps digital services, Mari is wonderful. She would love to help. If you have a question about maybe like you're doing some outreach to your other faculty or your other department, we could definitely have a program or a session or something that would go along with that. So it really just depends on what you want us to be able to help you do and how we can help you be successful. And we would love to help you with that. I know this did not last an hour, but this was just a chance to sort of whet your appetite, to get you excited about all the things that OERs are and can do. I do have a quick little survey for you. Feel free if you want to take it. That's awesome. But I really appreciate you being here, and thank you so much. And I hope that you will join us for the other smaller OER sessions where we focus on particular topics and subjects. Thank you so much.